Hi, I'm going to go over what I think that I plotted incorrectly on Friday's trading. I plotted a initial condition that really didn't work well because it got to my very extreme zones very fast with the downtrend on Friday and got beyond the most extended zone, and then it became very unclear where price was headed. Now, I recorded this video already. I'm re-recording the audio, so bear with me. So I'm just going to make the recording at a faster speed, and I'll record kind of my commentary on it. So hopefully I don't forget key points. But let me go through this. So in my video, I'm showing here the Discord where I post levels. You can join that. Now on Friday we had some news. It was PMI, which ended up being two 2 or 4 points below expectations, flash services PMI, and I guess that's what prompted the downtrend. I'll show in the video also some SMT that happened. Now, typically on my levels, an extreme zone for a normal bearish day will get to -3 in the Feigenbaum fibs, and on very extreme days, based on news, it can get to zone -4. So that's what I'm showing here where ES got to +1. I'm showing my original plotting of the Feigenbaum fibs that ES got to +1 and NQ got a lot higher. While ES was going sideways, NQ was pumping to zone 2 before making that down leg. Okay, I'm just showing here that in the initial condition, it'll sometimes kind of come up and act as a breaker. Plotting the zones, we quickly get to zone -3. And so I'm demonstrating here that these zones weren't great that I used that day. So -4 is super extreme. Now it got to -4 before lunchtime. And at that point, you don't expect it to go far beyond -4. But in this case, I think it's all due to me plotting it off the wrong spot. What I'm showing here is that basically it doubled the leg 1, leg 2, in lunchtime in the afternoon session hour. I'm showing here that in my chat, I told people that they should either shut the laptop because it got to -4 or short the rips, look for bearish entries. Because typically, if you're hanging out in the negative zones, you really want to lean bearish. You don't really want to fight the trend. Shorting rips, finding bearish entries is better than finding long entries in the negative zones. And then flip that, if price is hanging out in the positive zones, it's really best to just find bullish entries off of dips in the positive zones when price is hanging out there. So now I'm going to start demonstrating pretty soon where a better initial condition would be, but I'm going to first show you what happened before price went down. So we had some bearish SMT happening, and I'm going to show that on the 1-hour chart here. So we got over Thursday's high on NQ and ES did not. And if you want to compare day-to-day SMT, you really want to look at the 1-hour chart. Here I'm just screenshotting it so I can kind of notate. So there's Thursday highlighted, those 4 quarters of the day in quarterly theory. The 1-hour chart, we got over the Thursday high on Friday for NQ, and then we formed a 1-hour PSP candle. Okay, and I'm going to demonstrate that we also did a 90-minute cycle bearish sequential SMT on the 5-minute chart. If you want to look at 90-minute cycles, compare the 5-minute chart, and you're going to see that ES took the high of that 1-hour PSP candle just barely and did basically a turtle soup for the most prime short entry you could have had all day, and you would have been a millionaire by the end of the day because we went down so much. So yes, happy Friday to all the millionaires out there who shorted the entire rip down. Good job, good for you. So now we're going to delete our bad Feigenbaum fib levels that I wish I didn't make yesterday, and we're going to show you what would have worked out better in hindsight. So I always like to look at the 5-minute chart. I'm going to box up a wider area that happened in the Asian session, an area of consolidation. So with Feigenbaum fibs, you want to box out your initial condition. I like boxing up the 5-minute candle bodies, mark that off, plot your levels, and see if it hit both zone -1 and zone +1. So I'm going to show that here. So I box up similar areas for ES and NQ. We plot our fib. ES got to -1 quite nicely, and then it struggled to get to +1, but that does show that ES was the weaker asset. So if you did come into the day bearish, and you would have seen ES is weaker, that would have been the best one to short, to look for shorts. And that did prove to be right. So NQ did quite easily get to +1, went above it just a little bit, and then we formed the bearish 90-minute sequential steam. I'm showing you here that typically on a bullish day, you're going to come into the initial condition. It will act as a breaker, and you're going to wick out of it, maybe on a 15-minute chart or a 5-minute chart. But when you see deep bearish candles happening through the initial condition, and basically I kind of consider that you lost the initial condition, you should start shorting retests of the initial condition. And if you don't get that, you can short retests of zone -1. And I'm showing here that NQ did do a perfect retest of the initial condition, which would have been a prime area to start a short on NQ. And if it is a bearish day, take profit if you do enter at the initial condition. Take profit could be at -2 or -3 to close out your position. Potentially you could keep runners if you want to go beyond -3, but that is very rare. And going to -4 zone is super rare. So I'm kind of showing here where you could have entered, where you could have risked, like your swing highs. You can short the retest after zone -3 is lost, and then you see that the bottom of zone -3 is retested, and that would have made quite a good short. Now we're moving on to compare and see how ES did with this new Feigenbaum zone, and I'm showing that we're losing -2. We kind of retest -2. I'm going to show that we did not retest the initial condition. It did not act as a breaker, but we did lose -1 and retest -1. And you could have taken profit at zone -2 for a partial and maybe rode out the rest to get to zone -3. I'm showing that zone -2 is lost also and retested, and then I'm going to show you a potential long in the -3 area. Okay, so I'm showing PSP candles on the 5-minute chart that happened. There was a PSP candle that happened at the top of -3. It could have been very valid for a long entry. There was an SMT, so you wouldn't want to expect a reversal. And again, when you're hanging out in the negative areas, it is always better to find shorts rather than to find longs. Showing that you lost zone -3, you come up and retest it with a green candle, and potentially you could have rode it all the way down to zone -4, which ended up being like a 100-point win, 130 points. 130 ticks, not points, which would have been a $1,300 profitable trade for anyone that took it, which is a lot of money per contract. So good job on all those bears who made millions of dollars on Friday. I'm jealous. So with this better initial condition, I would have had more of an opportunity to ride out the loss of zone -3 and getting all the way to zone -4. So lesson learned. There's a little hindsight, and I hope it helped you. So if anyone wants to follow me in Discord, you can check my levels, ask questions. If you go to GG Alerts, that's where I post my levels. And if you look at the pinned comments, you can kind of see the fib settings and where it all came from this guy TRSTN on YouTube. He used to be on Twitter, doesn't really post there anymore. But hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.